In an everly growing and active world, there are many political and philosophical movements making their voices heard. One movement in particular is gaining attention and growing strong, and it goes by the name of
the Hotep Nation.
Hotep Nation.
Hotep Nation.
Hotep Nation.
Hotep Nation.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I had to Google it at first.
So who are these Hoteps that everyone's talking about?
Well, I am President Hotep Doe Doobs, President A.R. Morton of Hotep Nation. I've been the president of Hotep Nation since 2015. And my role is to not only be like the sole leader, just be one of the executive branch of Hotep Nation, to, be a face for the nation, to also guide and, bring my nation to elevated levels.
My name is Canon Hotep. I became a part of Hotep Nation, I'd probably say back in February of 2021.
I'm Uncle Hotep, charter member of Hotep Nation. One half of the Hoteps Been Told You podcast. I might have been one of the ones to spark the idea of, let's reclaim the word Hotep for Black Americans, for Americans, period. And, away from the derogatory term that it had become to be from, the left, the liberals, whatever you want to call them.
I am Hotep Jesus. I am a reincarnated ascended master. Is my running joke. I say that because I have a high level of consciousness. The only thing I can attribute that to is maybe some sort of past life development. But this isn't my first life. I understand a lot of things intuitively. I am one of the leaders of Hotep Nation, tech entrepreneur, author.
My name is Jonesy. Some know me as Jonesy the Podfather, and I'm associated with the Hotep Nation through, good friend of mine, long time, Hotep Jesus. And so, I got involved through him, and it's opened up a whole nother world, a network to me, and I'm really greatly appreciate it.
Hotep Nation is the official face of the revitalized Hotep movement. But what is Hotep? What does that mean?
Well, originally, Hotep has been around for a while. Back in the early 80s, late and through the 90s, there's always been a quote unquote Hotep, kind of culture in Black America. It kind of went dormant for a while. We're kind of responsible for the resurgence of it. Nowadays, you have to be supportive of, Black feminism, you aren't Black or something like that. And they started using Hotep as a derogatory term for people that, believed in traditional, way of life that has been for most of part of America. We wanted to reclaim that. You're responsible for yourself, your own success. Nobody's gonna give it to you.
I always get this question, and I love the question because Hotep just definitively, literally and definitively, has so many meanings. To be at peace, to be able to be satisfied, a state of satisfaction, et cetera, et cetera. Hotep for me is self-sufficiency. It's self-supremacy, so if you will. Being able to know yourself in and out. The things that you need to put in your body, what needs to be coming out of your body as far as output, your actual physical things you need to do during the day, your mental exertion, all of these things that you're doing throughout the day are to build self. And when you build self enough, you start to gravitate towards people who are doing the same. And when you have a group of people who are building for self, you start to come together and think of ideas of how to build the self that is your collective.
So Hotep, as it's taught to me by the authority on ancient Egypt, Shaka Agmos, means satisfaction, be satisfied. Other people may have heard it to mean tomb, to be at rest, peace. For us, Daddy's Russ was succinctly described it as self-mastery. That's what Hotep Nation focuses on, is taking the individual as they are. People come to Hotep Nation and they come and they're flawed, as we all are. So it's a very come as we are perspective, and accepting people for where they are in their journey and not judging them and saying, okay, here's where you are, but you can get better and take them to that next level of their life.
I mean, you know, I thought I knew what Hotep meant before I got involved, but now I see what it's about. When they say Hotep, it means peace. But for what I see from this nation is Hotep means meeting people where they are, you know, like accepting people for who they are as long as their mindset is correct and their drive to change the world is there.
So our job is to just remind people that it's not that it's your fault that you're in this position, but it is your responsibility to be able to get yourself out of it. And instead of complaining about not being able to get out of it, here are some things that you can use to get yourself out of it. That's why, you know, the Hotep, you know, ideal, so to speak, is what I gravitated towards because it helped me. And I was able to help other people who were willing to listen to me.
I want my children to be great. And the best way that I can do that is for me to start putting myself at risk. Because that's the only way that you can become great is by actually doing that.
You got to hit the bottom first, I think, before you head to the top sometimes. For us, Hotep is about overcoming obstacles. Being a pioneer, not having any excuses. And I think that when I was rock bottom, what got me out of that rep was not making excuses, taking responsibility and accountability for the situation I was in and saying, everything in and around me is my fault. I put this all here, I manifested this. So once I made that decision, that's when I was truly free. And then I was able to teach other people the way of Hotep.
Well, what Hotep means to me is self-sufficiency, self-mastery, being a better, stronger, faster version of yourself, which you used to be. Bettering yourself every day, holding yourself accountable. You know what I mean? A lot of that's gone by the wayside, especially in, you know, in the Black community. Everybody's looking for an excuse. Everybody's looking for the boogeyman to blame. I can't get here because the white man did this, or I can't get here because of this. You know what I mean? You know, instead of doing the work, finding, you know, if there's an obstacle in your way, figure it out, get around it. You know what I mean?
The thing I love about the Hotep Nation is that, you know, one thing I'm known for is my sense of humor. And the Hotep Nation definitely has a sense of humor. And it's a place where, you know, you can make a joke and it's just that, it's a joke. And people look at it, they laugh, nobody gets all offended. So basically, you know what I mean? That's the one thing about the Hotep Nation that's near and dear to my heart.
To me, what Hotep Nation represents is a culture, like a society of people who are willing to look past petty differences because they recognize that there's a more important common goal that is grander and it transcends all the petty nonsense. That's the thing. I see it as like this really beautiful synergistic relationship of people with a variety of skills, variety of talents, and even like a certain variety of like worldviews, but the central worldview and like the goal is the same.
And Hoteps are free thinkers. You know what I mean? That's another big thing. We're not a monolith. We're not one-sided. We don't live in a bubble. You know what I mean? We don't live in an ideological bubble where everybody thinks and believes the same thing. We all have different beliefs. We may not agree with each other all the time, but we all have that 30,000-foot view of, you know, what the world is. We don't live on ideal, this is how it should be. It's like, yeah, in the perfect world, that's how things are, but we don't live in the perfect world. We operate on how things are. And then not only operating on how things are, we operate on how to make our situation better despite on how things are. And that's what Hoteps mean, you know, just self-mastery, making yourself a better, faster version of yourself, better, stronger version of yourself.
You know, Hotep is about knowing you can achieve, right? Like knowing you can win and not questioning that. I think it's when you lose that mindset in that moment, you're not Hotep. There's moments where I'm not Hotep, right? Where I might be feeling down or something like that. That's not Hotep, right? But to overcome, that's Hotep. So it's just say, all right, we're gonna do this, we're gonna get out of this. And yeah, it's like an equilibrium state.
The movement is considered highly controversial by some, but is it really?
Is zero truth to that. You know, what that comes from is ignorance. You know, people feel what they don't fully understand. You know, that's just kind of been a pattern in human life, you know?
I mean, just call them what it is, they're insults. You know, there are moments where people associate those insults because, I mean, it's insulting. You know what I'm saying? They like to insult you. I couldn't ever speak to like those claims of misogyny in Hotep because I don't practice misogyny.
In my opinion, no, I don't think there's any misogyny there. We might look at it as like, we need to be the caretakers. The woman, you know, shouldn't have to take on the burden or the brunt of taking care of a family. That's the man. You know, the man should take care of the household, and the woman is his support system. That's his backbone. They went out, they provided. The wife took care of the house, and they took care of everything else. So the man didn't have to worry about that when he got home. All he had to worry about is going out and making the donuts the next day. You know. So as far as us being chauvinistic or feminist, I think that's non-existent.
My heart goes out to feminists. Feminism is born from lack of masculinity. I say my heart goes out to them because many of them have been hurt. Some of them have been sexually abused as adults and kids. And I say, you gotta lead with love. Don't attack hate with hate. You know, like when I come across a feminist, I'm like, you feel some issues going on in the world? Cool, like, can I give you a hug? I don't agree with the agenda. I know the agenda is astroturfed and has been for a while, especially when we talk about the founder of Playboy and how he helped the feminist movement, funded it, so on and so forth. I think they have an honorable mission. I just think the way they go about getting there may be flawed sometimes.
Don't hate women or gays. Now, there's plenty of female Hoteps. You know, it's just that in today's world, you know, in the age of feminism, like believing in two-parent households and women raising kids is like, it's almost at the point of being taboo. So when a lot of people say that, then they're like, oh, you must hate women if you think they should be in a house and raising the kids. Never mind the fact raising the kids is one of the most important things you can ever do in life. It's one of the hardest things you ever do in life. The fact that we came to a point in society that going to work is more important than raising the next generation of children, of people, is like how far we've gone astray, in my opinion, in the West.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can be Hotep, you know what I mean? I mean, they're all different races, colors, creeds that are Hotep. Anybody can be Hotep. It's a way of thinking. It's your mindset. It's not your color. It's not your religion. You know, it's a way of thinking. Christians, Catholics, Muslims, it doesn't matter. You know, it's all, we're all trying to get to this. You know, we're all got the same goal of getting to the same place. You know, it doesn't matter what you practice.
Yeah. So when it comes to different belief systems in which somebody is maybe already born into, or things like that, or their race or anything like that, yeah, 100% open to practice Hotepism, as they say, or something like that, or be Hotep. Yeah.
I mean, usually, in my personal opinion, you leave religion up to, you know, every person has an individual, connection with God, you know. The Hotep Nation, you know, it's more about, you know, what you're doing on this earth, what you're planning, your finances, your culture, you know, your relationship with God is on you. You know what I mean? I would more say that most Hoteps have some type of relationship with God,
rather than focus on like, okay, well, whose religion is right, who's praying to the right God or anything like that. I think we're all praying to the same God. I think that we have like a lot of different stories and mythologies and spiritual or symbolic expressions of the same spirit that's within all of us.
You know, when I think about Hotep, it's an ideological process where, you know, like I said, we all don't see eye to eye on everything, but, you know, that Venn diagram, there's a lot of middle ground there that we all come to.
Well, definitely not, I wouldn't say black supremacists. You know, I think everybody should want themselves to succeed. I don't think that makes you a black supremacist. You know, I do think they get labeled that incorrectly. You know, a lot of people say, oh, Hoteps are nothing but black supremacists. Hoteps are nothing but KKK and blackface. I've heard it all, you know, but they're definitely not that.
But I am pro the people I'm a part of, right? Now we call it pro-black or whatever, but I'm not pro that for anything other than survival, right? Because there's only like 2 groups in this world that aren't allowed to be pro their group, and it's white people and so-called black people. You know, you're black and you're like pro-black, and it's just like, oh, he's a supremacist. And you're like, white, I'm proud to be white. You're like a white supremacist. But if you're an Indian guy and you're proud to be Indian, it's like, oh, it's beautiful. You know? So all this stuff only gets funny when it deals with the whites and the blacks. I was born this way. I was born with this hue, right? And I loved it. I've always loved it. I've always been, I think I was maybe more pro-black then than I am now. Now I'm leaning more like pro-human. But, you know, I was definitely like more radical when I was younger. When you grow and you start to understand the world and you start to understand history, you start to understand the game. And, I think at first you're angry, and then once you understand the game and its rules, you're like, all right, let's play. So we're playing like that, yeah.
I haven't been knighted or anything like that, but I feel like a Hotep. I think it's like I said, it's kind of it's a mindset. It's about what you are bringing to it, as much as it is about what you get out of it. I think when you recognize that this is something that is needed, then you want to do everything you can to support it, and then by default you are uplifted and helped by it.
Trying to take from something else to improve another, take from group A to improve group B is all it's going to do is create animosity from group A to group B. Wanting you to succeed doesn't mean that the other person has to fail. And I think that's what, you know, this is what we're trying to get with Hotep Nation. We're trying to spread that word that, you know, we can succeed just like everybody else succeeds. And that's where, that's some of our motto. That's some of our outlook.
Your ancestors did amazing things. Things that if they didn't do it, the country that you live in now wouldn't look the way it looks today. It's a fact. So there's no reason for you to be insecure about where you come from. So that's the thing. It becomes an issue when people want to make history binary, to where either when you look at history, you either were a downtrodden victim and nothing else, or you look at history, you need to get over slavery because it wasn't that bad. When it's a mixture of both. There were institutions and things in place absolutely to put black people in a place of inferiority and second-class citizenship. It's a fact. But there were, because of how strong black American people, black people in general have been, the fortitude that they've had to still create, to still build, to still invent, and still persevere and never relent because of those systems cannot be overshadowed by one or the other. I'm not saying that I'm happy that the bad things happened. I'm saying that allowed me to show me my ancestor was able to push through it. So when I'm looking at the 21st century versions of these issues, I know that I can do it too.
Some have noted that Hotepism shares many ideals with other philosophies, notably Stoicism and Taoism. Why is that, and what makes Hotepism stand out?
Updating things for the times. A lot of people follow, for example, we look at the black community, they're following the same script as the 50s. Times have changed.
I guess the American experience, some of those things predate America, some of those isms and stuff like that.
Well, Hotep in its inception, it still will always be, just from the name itself, Afrocentric. It comes from Africa, right? Mainly, Egypt to be specific. So in that, the now civilizations, what they brought to the world.
So I love Stoicism. I love a lot of the ideologies and isms. For us, it's adapting to the times. So we focus on things like technology, finance. Sometimes these other things don't delve into those other parts of life. Sometimes we just focus on, maybe the meta, very ethereal parts of the individual, but not the physical, like how are you gonna get paid? Very basic things like that. And then technology, like being at the head of tech, creating software solutions.
Black Americans have a kind of unique origin and story in America, and it really definitely comes from them. You have a people that they are American, but some of the culture was, chopped off and devoid. They had a lot of us had to start from scratch, after slavery. So I think, and during the 80s and 90s, we were still trying to find ourselves, in America. So some of us, we wanted to take some of our cultural ties from Africa and other parts of the world and bring it and incorporate it into America. Because at the end of the day, most of us, the majority of us, were born here. We're going to die in America. We're basically Americans. So we wanted to tie some of that into the American culture and into our culture.
What Hotep Nation does is it says, hey, listen, this happened, and this happened, and also this happened. You might have not known that. So what happens to me when I tap in with guys from the Hotep Nation, they give me some gems and jewels that make me view something that I believe my entire life totally different based off of factual evidence.
The origins will still, will have parallels with other, masters of school, things like that, which is good. That just shows that these types of principles resonate throughout different cultures and ethnicities and different civilizations throughout the world. As far as Hotep in itself, yeah, it comes from Africa. That's the difference. That's the main, nucleus reason why it's different. That's what differentiates itself. And
we all know that this country right now is in need of refinement. I don't think that things need to be totally overhauled or this country at its basis level is a great country. It's the greatest nation, that there's ever been. But anything can be improved upon. And I think a lot of the ideals that come out of the Hotep Nation can really help this country move forward. Because it strips away all of the excuses from everybody. And what you're left to deal with is okay, what now?
Well, what makes Hotep unique, we're not afraid to take from other ideologies, you know what I mean? We're not trying to be, we're better, we're this, we're that. No, if we see something that we can adopt that can make us better, we have no problem adopting that, you know what I mean? So, we talk about meditation all the time, you know what I mean? We don't have a problem adopting other methods and ways into what we do if it's going to benefit us, it's going to benefit our family, it's going to benefit our community.
And that's what I've always been looking for, I really, to be honest with you, feel that, it's a good thing to know your past because, if you don't, know your past, you're doomed to repeat it. The fact that you have a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life that, you can tap in with and learn from. This is how you change the world. You don't have to shoehorn diversity into things. You just have to let things happen organically.
Just like the Bible, Hotep Nation also has its own 10 commandments to live a prosperous life.
I think the importance of the 10 commandments, those 10 commandments, is to create a framework of what you should be doing on a day-to-day basis. I think if you create that framework and work towards, some each every day, you'll no doubt succeed.
Well, the biggest one for me would always be to always serve your community. I think that was one of the biggest reasons why I liked what I found. Everybody that I learned about that was a solutionary, or to somebody that was solution-based, they always had the greater purpose in mind. So to be able to serve your community is like my number one thing. Being a utility for my nation is the number one thing for me, is that I can actually always be a help. I can always improve on myself. I can always impact the people who have, you know, dedicated some of their lives to the things that I believe in.
Being self-sufficient and independent is the biggest tenet in my opinion. I'm all for doing for self. In my videos, I preach doing for self. In my life, I preach to my kids and my wife doing for self. You know what I mean? You know, I was having a talk with another member of Hotep Nation, and I told him I hunt. You know what I mean? That's me making myself better. That's me making myself sufficient should something catastrophic happen in the world. Being independent and self-sufficient should be at the top of everyone's list, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Because if you can be independent and self-sufficient, everything else just falls into place.
The one I resonate the most with is not making excuses, you know, because I think, and that's why I think, you know, this iteration of Hotep started, because, you know, the black left wanted to use, you know, quote unquote conservatives or white supremacists as an excuse for, you know, some of our failures or our shortcomings. Well, I don't think that should be the case. We should be able to control our own destiny. You know, America is a land of opportunity. You know, there's no excuse if other people around the world come here, are dying to come here, or will risk their life to come here. There's no excuse for us not to take advantage of it and use it to the best of our ability. We're sitting on a gold mine, and we're sitting there letting the media put it in our brains that the reason we're not succeeding is somebody else's fault, when all we have to do is look in the mirror and find what we need to do, you need to do, and then you'll find a way to succeed.
I'm a master of my soul, probably the one that resonates most with me. You know, like I always tell people, my superpower isn't dormant within me, it's out there somewhere, or in there somewhere, or however this power works. But I'm very connected to God or universe or cosmic, whatever terms we're using. But I'm already connected, so.
At its core, Hotep Nation is a philosophical movement, but the Hoteps take an active cultural role, which lends itself towards politics.
Oh, it's a facet of our daily life, right? Like, people deal in politics, and in so many ways, when you are an organization, when you're dealing with a nation of people, there has to be some level of politics there. There has to be some types of, you know, guidelines in which your people operate.
I mean, part of the 10 Hotep commandments is become a master of law and finance. And anytime you're dealing with politics, you're dealing with law. As Rousseau says, we're in this social contract. All of us, we sort of signed at birth to coexist together, and rules need to be implemented, and understanding those rules can help you. It can only be beneficial to understand some of the things that are governing us.
This is the country that you're in. You want to be familiar with the lay of the land. And the lay of the land is that there's a two-party system, and this is the politics in which that happens, and you don't want to be naive or ignorant in those things. So be engaged, be politically engaged. But that, again, that's just one leg of, you know, Hotep's, you know, self-mastery.
That's the one thing I did realize when I started to join Hotep Nation, is that, like I said before, I was politically homeless, and I felt, and I realized after listening to Hotep Jesus, Uncle Hotep, I don't have to have a political affiliation. You know what I mean? It should be more like, what can you do for me? How can you help me in my goals?
Now, I don't get too involved in politics, but I love that there are individuals who specialize in that, like Sonny Johnson, so we support those voices and those minds. But politics is important. I don't think we should give it too much weight, but I don't think it should be ignored either.
as far as other members are concerned, they're all over the spectrum. You know what I mean? I don't think any of them are really lean liberal or democratic like that. We all can tend to seem like we're kind of more conservative, I would probably say, if you had to put a label to it. But you got libertarians, you got anarcho-capitalists, you got anarchists. You know, we're all over the place. You know, there's no one size fits all for us, and that's what I really like about it. Because when you don't have that one size fits all, you learn more.
And a lot of the things, the new laws that have been passed, the new definitions of, you know, what is a gender, what is, you know, marriage, you know, you can't, you know, a lot of that stuff comes from politics. You have to get involved at some point. But that's not the end all be all. You know, you have to, like first and foremost, you have to succeed. You know, your family has to succeed. You have to succeed. You have to have your children succeed. But but once again, you know, a lot of that stuff you have to get involved in politics. You know, what they're teaching in schools, what they're wearing to schools. You know, American liberalism, it seems like it's going further and further left. You know, there's some liberals that you would say are Hotep. You know, but I think that with the further slide to the left, I think you'll find it less and less. You know, we're not like, there's no monolith of what a Hotep is politically or anything like that, or who they vote for or things of that nature. Because you would still say it's really all over the place, but if you had a spectrum or a chart or the diamond chart or whatever it is, I would say that it would be more right-leaning. You know, I think Black Americans, you know, they might vote one way, but socially, I think they probably are more to the right.
As far as like our political leanings, you'll have the majority, you'll see them as far as the American politics are concerned. They lean towards, you know, the conservative or the right. However, when people ask me if I'm left or right, I say I'm Hotep.
While there are many voices across many mediums in the Hotep Nation community, the flagship podcast is Hotep's Been Told You, every Thursday evening on YouTube.
I started watching them when they started their podcast. I'm like, man, these dudes think like I think.
It's called humility. That's what it comes down to. It comes down to humility. When you can humble yourself, you can have great relationships with people.
Sometimes you have disagreements and people get angry about it or stuff like that. You know, I think we're a lot similar, but we're different in ways. You know, I think that we can make it fun is that, you know, it's, you know, having a podcast and they're just two people agreeing with it. I think that kind of gets stale or something like that. But I think it just works for us because, you know, it's the banter can become it becomes entertaining and stuff like that. You know, we like the coon thing or anything like that, or me selling out. You know, it's like, I don't know, because I don't agree with some of the times that I get accused of selling out. So, you know, I just want to present my case. You know, that's the thing Hotep Court came about and stuff like that. So, hey, I mean, sometimes you disagree. Sometimes you come around. Sometimes you don't. You know, so, you know, I always take it. My motto is you can learn something from everybody. You know, so, you know, I always try to listen. You know,
everybody else is afraid. Everybody else is afraid to be themselves. Everybody else is doing things by the book. Everybody is afraid to get canceled. Why is it throughout history you have white people fascinated with Black culture, right? And what comes to find out was that Black culture actually had more freedom of judgment. White culture was very much like, you know, you have to sit right and don't do this. But then you go to the Black side of town, they cuss and they're hanging out, they talking, you know, and it was really more loose. So it's very, you know, free, you know, it lacks judgment. So we kind of got the cheat code, like I guess Black privilege, right? Also, we're breaking it down from a very honest perspective. Some people are just sticking to the talking points and saying what's gonna score buckets, right? And we're just like, nah, we're just gonna keep it real with you. Like, if you like this take, cool. If you don't, cool. You know. Also, it's a peek inside Black culture too. A lot of white people are like, you know, we don't understand Black culture. We want to understand the Black community. And in politics, you'll get like two opinions. You'll get talking points from Black Republicans and you'll get talking points from Black Democrats. So when white people look in, they're not even still getting the picture of Black people. They're getting still establishment representative ideas. So we are their peek into, here's how the Black community really thinks, you know? And I think that's what people really love about it, especially the Caucasian crowd. I think that's what they really love. It's like, no, that's not what Black people think. You gotta watch Hoteps Been Told You, because here's how Black community really cares about. And here's what they really care about. Here's the issues they really care about, you know?
That might just be us. But, you know, as far as, you know, sometimes we take it serious, sometimes we laugh. You know, I guess it depends on the topic, you know what I mean? I think we just want to have some fun with it, and sometimes we do want to be serious about certain subjects, and certain subjects is kind of dark, and you know what I mean?
I would say it's probably the do that both me and him we can probably talk in two different realms easily. We can go in the urban environment, or like as you said, we can go in the white environment and the Black environment, like easy. And I don't think some people can't do that, you know, just because of, you know, their situation or how they were raised or something like that. I just think it's because we both can do that we can go back and forth on different subjects and sound totally different. It might be funny to one person, serious to the next, and stuff like that. So that's probably why I think it sounds like that.
A lot of people are not going to find honest takes on the internet because people are so afraid to speak their mind. It's raw. The podcast is raw too sometimes. And I love that whole 90s feel. Like I grew up on Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy, right? And I feel like I want to keep some of that raw. So sometimes I say shit just to keep our freedom. You know, like you got to test the boundaries to keep the freedom, right? Because the more you lower that, the more they're gonna, and the less you can talk about things, the less you can think about things.
No matter who you are or where you've been, you can also be a part of Hotep Nation. The real question is how.
I'm going to have to default to what Tyler Durden, aka Hotep Jesus, says. The number one rule of Hotep is you don't talk about Hotep. I can't tell you that. That's just, you have to just kind of, it happens. You figure it out by doing the things that if you think this vibes with you, just start following that path and you'll figure it out.
Anybody can be Hotep, so it's just that you got to get into that mindset and just want to be better. You get into that mindset that you don't know everything and that you're willing to learn. The way that you're willing to open your mind and know that and realize you don't have life figured out, and that you can learn some new ways, or, you know, teach an old dog some new tricks. That's the man I feel like, you know, you'd be open to being a Hotep.
You don't become Hotep. Listen, Hotep Nation is Fight Club. You kind of gravitate towards it based off of your state of being. You know what I mean? Like if you're on Twitter and you see that message put out there, you see what we're doing, you see we're out here, you know, affecting change in a positive way, and you're like, hey man, you know, I want to know what's going on with this. How can I tap in with this? It's just going and taking that first step and reaching out to somebody, man. You know, nobody's ever turned away.
Can't tell you that. That is the trick. I can't tell you how to join. There is a way to join. There's an official way to join, but I'm not going to tell you that. Like, that's like the first test. If you really want to join, you'll find out how. If people want to join and you find your way, it's like Fight Club. You know, if you find out about it, you know, it's cool. But we don't talk about Fight Club. You know, but you're more than welcome to join if you can find out. And it's not that hard, but you know, you gotta want to. And if you have that desire, then I know we have a high quality individual, somebody that really wants to be a part of it because they went and searched up and said, okay, here's how I join it. They'll find us in the Discord.
I don't know. You know, just talk to us. You know, it's not about, you know, joining. Like, there's isn't a membership fee or anything like that. You know, it's just, you know, just going out and helping the community, helping us, helping yourself, helping your family. You know, helping your neighborhood. There's plenty of people in Hotep Nation. If you help them out, I mean that's an easy way to quote unquote join. It isn't like, it's not like the Elks Club. You got membership dues or anything like that. But if you want to help out the movement, then you're part of the gang.
Of course, we have a bunch of information hubs online, on YouTube, and other places like that. Of course, Hotep's Been Told You is every Thursday. Really get immersed into the nation. Really start to, of course, we're a lot online based, but of course we're doing a lot more live events and come-togethers and things like that. But online, definitely get in tune with Hotep Jesus, get in tune with Uncle Hoteps and all other, actively prominent Hoteps, and really, immerse yourself into the nation on a social level. There's other channels that I'm pretty sure they'll be able to really give the links for, that, you're able to commune and really fellowship with other Hoteps. Also, continue to, read upon and study the 10 Hotep commandments. Make sure that you're abiding by them. They're not like super strict. They should be things that coincide with your daily life. They're just there to remind you. So just keep abiding by those, and then, spread the word. You don't have to argue about it. You don't got to fight about it. You just, if anybody's interested or you think somebody would be interested, share it, spread it. That's how you join.
That's one thing that happened, when this whole thing, grew, is that, people came forward and just said, I'm a Hotep too. I'm a Hotep. It's not like, you're knighted. We took. It's not like we took the big ankh and you knelt in front of it. We knighted you with the ankh. It's nothing like that. It's more like a personal decision that you want to take some responsibility for yourself, responsibility for your actions. You want to help the community out. You want to eat to live. You all of a sudden you're following the majority of the 10 Hotep commandments, and all of a sudden, you're like, hey, maybe those Hoteps aren't so bad. And then, you might get labeled a Hoteps by the people that, that the black liberal establishment. They're like, oh, he's Hotep, like that. Well, I guess so. When they'll start challenging your ideas and start, dissing you for having ideas that's counter to them, then you probably Hotep.
I always equate it to like, Christianity, just let Hotep into your heart. You know what I mean? Like when for example, I didn't go and call up, Hotep Nation hotline, or I didn't go begging Hotep Jesus in the DMs or Uncle Hotep. I just decided I was Hotep. I knew that it was the right time to become Hotep, and I made that decision for myself. Nobody else did. You know what I mean? And the minute I decided that I was Hotep, they accepted it. You know what I mean? They didn't tell me to change my handles or any of that stuff. They welcomed me in, and I've been learning from them ever since.
If you're interested in what the Hoteps are doing, you can follow these and many other Hoteps by checking out the information in the links in the description below.